Welcome to the Gastro Girl podcast. We bring together patients, experts, and health advocates who are all here to help you optimize your health. Here's your host, Jacqueline Gaulin.
Hey everyone, welcome to this episode of the Gastro Girl podcast. Today we're going to explore an inspiring story from an amazing guest. Her name is Ilaria Montagnani, and she is a fitness icon and wellness advocate. And she has such an interesting patient journey. Welcome to the show, Ilaria. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you so much for having me. It's my pleasure to be in your show. Thank you.
Great. So can you start by just telling us a little bit about your personal journey and what inspired you to share your story today?
Thank you. So, inspire me to share my story because it helped so much me and a lot of the people that I surround myself with every day. I am in the fitness world. I teach classes, so I see people many hours of the day, every day. And being in the fitness world, I've always felt, really healthy, happy, doing what I love. I've been really considered so lucky. I'm consider myself always very lucky until I got hit with cancer. And, so then my story changed completely. I don't know if you want to jump there, but that's kind of.
Yeah, let's talk about that because there are many listeners who may be struggling themselves with a recent cancer diagnosis, going through it, knowing a loved one.
Yeah.
So just tell us a little bit about what happened.
Yeah. So I was diagnosed with breast cancer 8 years ago. And 8 years ago, I was again, at the height of everything that I do in a world where being healthy and doing everything that is right to do for your body and also, taking pride on myself. I was vegetarian. I exercise every day. I've been in a kind of a holistic, although this is a little bit loose term, but most of my life because it's something I really love. So when I was diagnosed first time with cancer, I really was like, what? Wait, I know there are phases that people that are, diagnosed with cancer goes, denial, anger, and all of that. And I think I hate all of them twice probably because I really was surprised. Like, then obviously you come to the understanding that you're not invincible, you're not immortal, and this happens to you and thousands of other people. And actually, I was lucky that it was breast cancer, that it was treatable, even though it was very aggressive. And so I had that going 8 years ago. One of the ways that I coped back then with my diagnosis and go through it, I actually shot a documentary, a movie that is to kind of like document what I was going through. I did not really know what to expect, always having been very healthy, having to go through a mastectomy, how that would impact my fitness world, my livelihood, my work, my everything. Fast forward to 6 months ago, I was diagnosed again with cancer, again breast cancer.
Oh, no.
And that really hit me hard at that point. I was like, you didn't think you was invincible before? Take that. Now I'm really going to show you. So the second time around was a different journey than my first time around with cancer. And for me it was cancer, but I do recognize that a lot of people have different kind of illnesses. And I think what we go through is very similar. I mean, with cancer, there is a stigma of being afraid. What if it spreads? My biggest fear was after my first cancer, what if it comes back? Because I'd heard that usually if it comes back, or my fear was if it came back would be more aggressive, worse, all of that. But then you try to do everything, like think positive, try to have a good lifestyle again, even more, and all of that, so that it wouldn't come back. So then when it did come back, I really was like defeated. Like, why? Should I read something into this? But the good thing is that having gone through the first time, I was like, no, stop. The second time, I'm like, try to eliminate all the really negative part of being told that you have cancer, the fear, the anger, the first time when I was told about cancer, I kind of went into a really dark place of like feeling that nothing was going to work for me. Nothing. Like if I was told that was cancer, then everything was going to be a disaster from therefore in my life. And then it wasn't. There are dark moments, but you can come out of it. The beautiful thing about at least breast cancer and a lot of cancers today, they're treatable. So we have to think that sense. It's like you have to be lucky. You have to feel lucky that it is treatable.
Are you confused by all the gut health myths and misinformation out there? The Ask Gastro Girl app cuts through the noise with trusted, evidence-based answers, all powered by AI and expert guidance you can rely on anytime, anywhere. Get clarity, track your health, set personalized goals, and access tailored nutrition plans and gut-friendly recipes all in one place. Plus, you can start with a free 3-day trial. Download Ask Gastro Girl today from the App Store or Google Play and discover the truth about better digestive health. So how did you, you've faced these incredible challenges, your 2-time cancer diagnosis. Like, can you walk us through how you coped during those moments, both mentally and physically? Like, what did you do, like, to get out of that dark place?
Yeah. The second time around, it was easier for me to not go so deep into a dark place. You still do, and it's different. It's different the second time because you really have different questions. You question yourself. You really question, like, then what am I? Am I doing something really incorrect with my life? Is this chance? Is this? You think of all these things. But I decided, for one, to remember what it was like the first time when I had cancer, and the fact that doctors are there to help you. They did a great operation, and that also, not kidding myself, like, yeah, you're going to feel like crap. The first week right after mastectomy is horrible. It's horrible. Everybody deals with it, but kind of like expect it, knowing that it's going to be horrible. Do anything that you can right away. In my case, was physically, I was really trying to take little walks immediately, like as soon as I could, to try. I was like, flush out all the, anesthesia, the painkillers, the this, the that, but don't do too much because you have the drains. I had twice mastectomy. So, at least the second time I was more familiar with the process of the drains, the blood, the scars, the level of pain that you have to deal with. For me, one of the biggest problem was obviously not being able to do anything physically, which, when you used to do everything physically every day, not being able to do everything physically, that was my biggest shift. Remember that you have to rely on other people because you can't move your arms basically for,
Oh,
for
wow.
quite some time. So, um, don't get angry about that, and kind of like let it go and accept it. It will pass. It will get better. That was something that I constantly remind myself, and it became not a face positive thing to say. It's like, no, it's crap right now, but it will be better later. So that was one of the most important things. The second one was really trying to be knowing that I was gonna have physical limitation, but within this physical limitation, what is that I can do? It's kind of like owning the little things that I could do every day until those little things become a little bigger, a little bigger. And for example, after my second mastectomy, I did not stay in the hospital. I went straight back home, which I know a lot of people, especially in Italy, in my country, they were all like, what did you do? Why did you go back? You should have stayed, at the hospital for like days, week, so they check you in. I was like, no, if the doctor tells me that I'm clear to go home and I know what I'm doing with all this tubes and stuff like that, it's actually better to be in your place, than not in a hospital and stuff like that. And I can get up by myself and go to the bathroom, and I can take little walks. So those were the physical things that helped a lot.
So you're really focused, your mindset, and it's such a horrible, I can't even imagine going through this. I've never, thank God, experienced having a cancer diagnosis, but I can only imagine that you have all these emotions and it's so easy to focus on the negative. And I'm hearing glimmers of your positive, like you're finding the positive. You have your moments of like anger and why me? And that's okay, right? But you also find the gems of positive and things that you can do and take action, because that helps lift you up, right? Did that really help shift your and justifiable negative attitude?
100%. And I think those little gems is what we need to focus on, because it's not going to be all of a sudden you're going to be very unhappy and very happy. That is not like that. And I think also life has taught me that is like, hang on to those little things, being able to sleep 3 hours in a row, be grateful about that. Getting up and going by yourself in the kitchen and maybe not pour a glass of water by yourself, but, I know it sounds silly, but also focusing on the little things makes you stay present, and it doesn't let your mind ruminate on what if and I didn't do, and I could be doing this instead of like, and I should be. stay on the moment. But that's what I've learned from, being physical and, being in fitness for 30 years. It's stay on the moment. And one of my biggest message always was, let your body guide your mind. Meaning sometimes we just have to rely on the physicality to shake our minds off. And I know that a lot, even in this wellness being, we always say, oh, as long as your mind is okay, then everything is okay. And I'm absolutely 100% true. But for most of us, we're not that amazing that we can always control our mind. It's actually much easier to control the little things that we can do with our bodies. The little things could be a walk. So that's what I always go back to.
Oh, thank you. Before we started recording this episode, you mentioned to me that you were experiencing digestive health challenges, as
Yes, as
a
well.
as a
Yeah.
side effect or just as what's happening now in your life. And many people who are listening have either a digestive health condition or they're faced with chronic symptoms, maybe a loved one, and they struggle to find hope in their journey. We hear it over and over again in our messages and our emails from patients, and it's truly heartbreaking. And I just want to ask you, what advice would you give to someone who's listening today that may feel overwhelmed or defeated in their recent diagnosis or just their everyday struggle?
That is not easy. Also because any issues that are connected with, our gastro system, it's an everyday thing. You wake up and you really don't know so it's, as much as you can prep yourself every day to be okay, you get hit every day with something. The daily challenge, I think of, because I'm experiencing now, specifically after my second diagnosis, I have some other issues that I have to deal with. And it's not, I'll tell you that those are actually very challenging for me. But one of the things that I do is, again, is trying to really meditate. And it's not, again, trying to like woohoo weird things, but like I have to thank my body for all the things that it's doing. I have to thank what, even the organs that are giving me some issues, whether it's my gut, my pancreas, or stuff like that, it's still working like crazy. It could be much worse. I mean, I put my body through so much. We all do. So I constantly thank it. And I try to still stay on the path of, there's so many things that are still great and so many things that are amazing for you. Focus on this, it really helps. The other things, again, I'm a practical person. I try to always go, what can I do practically to help my body? So it's diet. It's being careful with what I'm eating, not diet as in but it's really like, let me help you, body. It's really talking to my body. It's like, let me help you. You have helped me and supported me all these years. And even though I felt you betrayed me, because that was really what my first reaction, my first cancer, then the second cancer, then I have these other challenges. I'm like, my body's not betraying me. My body's doing the best that it can. So that helps me already a lot, shifting. It's not betray, it's not sickness, it's doing the best that it can with issues here and there.
Yeah, thank you. Now you were really fortunate because you had a background in fitness and healthy lifestyle and eating. So you already had a leg up, if you will, of from people that maybe don't have that experience. So and with movement, and this has been central to your life. Now, how did this play a role in your healing journey, both during and after treatment?
100% was the most important factor, I think, in my healing was the fact that it was physical. One of the things that I realized is that always having been so physical, and literally, I am the kind of person that works 4 or 5 hours a day at the gym. I have my own, programs. I have my virtual classes. I have in person. So I'm always physical, and I've always felt really amazing. I always felt really, really healthy, and so when you get really this level of sickness, you start to wonder like, oh, well, then what's the point of always being so healthy? What's the point of always, being vegetarian? And now I'm like, at one point I was like, oh, screw it. I'm just going to start eating this and that. And who cares? And then I realized, stop it. Just being so physical or careful what you've eaten your entire life doesn't prevent you from getting cancer. It's clear. Cancer really does not discriminate. But the biggest difference is how I was dealing afterwards, both from a physical point of view, because my body did start at a higher level in terms of recovery, because there was still many good things going on, and especially mentally. My physicality, my being able to be physical always helped my mind to be instead of like that, which isn't good, but
Yeah.
like this. So I am beyond grateful that I am this physical.
So for people who are managing chronic illnesses, and for the sake of this podcast where it's
Yes,
focused on digestive health, people who have chronic conditions like IBD, or even are recovering from something like colon cancer, maintaining physical activity can just feel absolutely daunting.
true.
How, when we know it's important, but we just can't get ourselves to do it. What tips or adaptations do you recommend for those who know the value and want to stay active, but how can they do it within their capabilities? Like, what is your guidance for that?
And this comes from a person that went from literally 100, 5, 6 hours a day, competing, doing everything, to really not being able to do anything, and having to shift my mentality that something is always better than nothing. And being able to really understand that and the value of that for me on a personal level was a huge thing, because it's like, oh, but if I don't do 3, 4 hours a day, kind of like this is my lifestyle, does it really matter that I'm only doing 10 minutes? Yes, it matters. So my advice on anybody, because I know that when you're feeling sick physically, you can't even drag yourself out of bed, like all of that, 10 minutes of walking, 10 minutes would makes such a big difference. And if anybody is lucky enough to be able to just go outside, even if you don't walk and you want, at the beginning is just making yourself not being inside it. Like that's one of the reasons why I didn't want it to be in the hospital after, I finished the whole operation and blah, 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 and stuff like that. Is like, just get to walk outside, just get to experience the air. That helps. And sometimes you literally build from 1 minute to 3 minutes to 5 minutes. Some days is nothing. You cannot even get yourself out. Okay, accept it. Let's see what we can do tomorrow, or let's see what we can do in 6 hours. And also, by the way, knowing that it does require effort, it is a sacrifice. And when you're sick, it's a lot worse. Don't
Yeah.
compare yourself with the good. You cannot even think, oh, but are you? That's the other thing. Don't start thinking, I used to be able to do that. I could do that. Now I don't think that. This is who you are now. Focus on your next 5 minutes.
Oh, that's so powerful. And also we want to remind listeners, like, this is just general guidance. You always want to check with your
Absolutely.
healthcare provider to make sure that it's okay. If they don't want you walking outside or going for a walk, don't do it. But we're trying to, for those of us who can,
Yes.
it's okay, we're giving the clearance to do so. These are great tips from Ilaria, and it's really mind over matter, and you really focus on this mind body connection. Talk a little bit about that and how the power of your mind and thinking, you've kind of alluded to it throughout our conversation today, but I want to focus on it again because it's so critical to our healing.
Yeah, and it is critical. I don't want to even give it a percentage. And of it always having been such a physical person, I kind of always, relied on my mind a little bit less. And then I realized when my body goes this low and like, let me bring up, they all work together. And for me, it's always been helpful to always think of them integrated. So I'm never been that great, for example, of just sitting down and meditating completely. If I was able to do a walking meditation or even cleaning the house, like kind of like putting myself on a mode, and then so for whatever works for anybody, sometimes it's a candle and you look at the, whatever that is, but the power of your mind really can help in healing and can help dealing with your emotions while you're healing. And again, I always pair that with something physical. Of course, the doctor has to give you the clearance, and of course, knowing that is a sacrifice, but to me, it's always made the biggest difference.
Yeah, and I think there's some confusion when people hear meditation. They may have in their head some, person just doing something weird that they don't relate to that. But I love to, I have a high stress job. I work in my startup, and it can be stressful. And for me, I love playing some of those YouTube music videos, which are just like healing sounds and for relaxation. And I have it in the background a lot. And for me, you can take a few minutes, just like feel that music, just take it in for a moment. And that could be a moment of reflection. Like to sit on my little balcony and, just clear my head, even those few minutes. So anything, what works for you, right?
Yes.
Alaria, what works
Yes.
for someone just sit in their chair and just like take deep breaths. There's some great videos on diaphragmatic breathing and just breath. There's a lot of information and evidence-based around the power of those breathing exercises and also meditation and just calming the mind and all that noise that we may feel.
Yeah. Well, you have to be
So
proactive. You have to look into things and you have to try different things. And it doesn't mean that the first thing that you try is going to work. And if it doesn't work, you have to keep trying. You have to invest on yourself. And I think when we are experiencing sickness, if we want to call it sickness or physical challenges, something like even more, we have to invest in ourselves because things don't fall from the sky to us. So if that meditation doesn't work for you, you don't give it completely everything up. Like you say, okay, maybe for you it's something similar to it, but you like at the beginning I could not find my groove. I couldn't figure it out what would work for me. But for example, and the nights when after surgery, one of my biggest challenge, everybody when they have mastectomy, you have to stay only on your back. You have to stay all propped up. So I am horrible sleeper to begin with. And then you prop me up like this, so sleep like this for three
oh, yeah.
weeks. I'm like, I can't sleep. So my biggest challenge was really like not going crazy. And at night, when I couldn't sleep, for example, I would listen to meditation music. And at the beginning, it didn't work. It irritated me even more because I wanted to have a result from it and it wasn't clicking in. Continue, be persistent. Then I found the right thing that worked for me. We all have to do that. And it's not going to work the first thing or second or maybe even third, but it's okay. It's normal.
No, this is so it's such I love our conversation today. So many of our listeners feel isolated. They may feel isolated in their journey. They feel like they're alone.
Yeah.
How did you navigate that? And how do you think community support and community support can mean different things to different people, but how can that make a difference? And what advice would you give for building a support network?
Yeah. I think a support network is really, really important. I think I tend to be a little bit of a loner. So this comes from a person that, the first reaction is like, no, thank you. I'm okay. I'm good. And I do tend to do a lot, but I have a very beautiful community of people that have been with me, exercise with me, whether it's in person or online, over the years that have reached out to me. And the power of even people that I don't know, most of them I don't know, or I know some, kind of like sort of level, it makes a big difference. So I do think that having a support system that may be something that you build at the time that you get sick. Sometimes it's not like I don't, I know there are people in this country that I don't have any friends. I don't have any family. That's tough. But you know what? You can create a little bit of a community anywhere you go, and especially when you're sick, because they're actually people are much nicer than we think they are if they, so they're willing. I also was very lucky that I had my family that is in Italy, but my mom came to help me. Not my young mom, but she was like, I'm coming. I don't care. I'm like, Mom, you can, like, please, it's a really long flight. I'm there. I'm coming because I'll help you to cook. And then my brother gave, like, of course, so like, I'm going to help you. Like, what?
Oh, an Italian mama
Italian
cooking. I mean,
mom, that's amazing.
that's the best.
Absolutely. But that, I mean, so I can't say to everybody, I was very lucky. She came in, she cooked. Obviously, she was like, you need to have broth. You need to have bone broth because you need to build. I'm like, yes, I do. I need to rebuild my tissue. I need proteins. I'm like, oh my God, I need proteins. So like, I got you, so she was amazing. My brother came, to help me out because there really is physically, you can't do anything so much. So even opening a door, silly things like this. My light bulbs went out and I couldn't, like things like
Oh,
that. I
yeah.
was like,
So you take
I mean, I
wow.
know these sound really silly, but you need some help.
No.
And actually the realizing how much you can have people to help you and how beautiful that is, it really changed a lot for me because it was much more of a loner before I got through my sickness.
Yeah. So don't isolate. And we all have a tendency to do that. Were there any resources that you found online that were helpful, like any websites or community support networks online
No,
that you found
actually, it
helpful?
was podcasts like this. During my recovery, I found your podcast because, of course, I was interested in anything that was connected with gastro and gastro issues and stuff like that. So I do think that the great thing about internet and having social media and stuff like that is finding people that are going through the same challenges. For me, it was major. Also because you realize, you know what? It was kind of also like a slap in the face. Like, Ilaria, you're not alone. There's really thousands of people that just have breast cancers, thousands of people that are experiencing different kind of cancers, thousands and thousands of people that have just sick, they have a car accident. We all are in the same boat. We're trying to get better, and be okay.
So I want to talk a little bit before we go about your documentary, and also the your wonderful like exercise programs, and how you're doing with that, and what inspired you to create all this wonderful stuff.
So my exercise program, my mission is always been exercise makes you stronger for life, and for me, it's been exercise. Maybe for other people, is something else. Although I would always recommend to anybody, and exercise does not mean be in the gym doing. It's whatever works for you. It could be walking. It could be you're an adult person. You are in your city. Maybe you're a gym person. Whatever it is for you, but realizing that we are not just a soul and mind, but we have a physical body and we're intended to move, and paying attention to that has always been what I've tried to give to everybody. Women, we got to be strong. We live much better in a stronger body than not. And again, I'm the example. I can get sick, it doesn't matter, you still get sick, but you're better off. So my message has always been through, I have different workouts. I have power all based on martial arts. My background, I was black belt in karate, so I've always
Oh,
been
wow.
in that kind of life of, and also very much military thinking, like discipline, you got to do that, like it's like, how do I convey this to the average person? Of course, if you're a martial artist, you're there to like, kill and just like be this,
Yeah.
assassin kind of thing. But how do I bring the benefits of martial arts and that kind of training to the average person? So about almost 30 years ago, oh my God, like, yeah, almost 30 years ago when I was 5 years old, I created, types of workout that called Forza with swords, power strike, kickboxing that brings the world of martial arts, but to the average person. So I'm bridging things and I'm trying to make people understand. Same I do it with weights. My background is also bodybuilding and stuff like that, and bringing the importance of being strong and strength training to the masses, specifically to women. And I've always seen the advantage of that. And the documentary that I shot after when I was diagnosed the first time is kind of given the message of, and seeing what happens to me, because I started shooting as soon as I was diagnosed. I didn't even know that I was sick, kind of thing. So we really took a camera. It was like, what happens to somebody that is an athlete, that they have to go through all of this? And what happens to somebody that is always relied on their body when they can't rely on their body anymore? Or when will they, what changes? So I wanted to document all of that and show that through the documentaries. And I can't say enough that how much being physical has helped me. And I'll tell you, the other part is that being physical was actually a curse, because when I started feeling better, my job was still to go back at the gym, but feeling better was not still 100%. So I would go back to the gym literally like this, and all I could see is what I could not do. And all I was focused at the beginning is my limitations. And then you just have to kind of like literally like, what can I do now instead? So
Right. Oh, that's great. So what's your documentary called, and can people watch it
yes,
somewhere?
they can watch it on YouTube, on
What's the name of
Facebook.
what's
Stronger for Life.
Stronger for
Stronger
Life?
for Life.
And do you have a website that people can
Yes.
access your
Stronger for
other
Life. I
resources?
have two websites. One is powerstrike.com. That's my, with all the physical exercises and all of that. And then
Okay.
there's the documentary website, which is strongerforlifefilm.com.
Oh, this is fantastic. Well, I mean, we could talk forever, but I know you're really
Yes.
busy, and I really appreciate your time today. Before we go, are there any final words you'd like to offer our listeners? Any final words of wisdom for people that may be struggling with a recent diagnosis or in the midst of recovery from either a serious chronic illness or cancer?
Yeah. First of all, one, it's okay that you're getting angry or sad, however you respond to it. It's very normal. There is nothing wrong with that. And unfortunately, it's to be expected. So don't get lost into, I gotta be okay. I'm gonna be fine. It's, like right away, say, I'm sick, but I'm grateful. No, you're sick and it sucks. Okay. Moving on. Let's try to find the little gems every day on things that can make you happy, because they add up. The same way that the little negativity adds up and it puts you down, little good positive things adds up and lifts you up. And you have to look for those, and when they're not there, create them. For me, a lot of those were physical, in the sense of, just being able to go outside, take a little walks or stuff like that. But if it's a little call with your friend, if it's a prayer, if it's whatever is your thing, stay on those.
Thank you. Thank you, Ilaria, for sharing your incredible journey with us today. Your story, you're so resilient. You've been through so much, but your positive spirit and advocacy is truly inspiring. And I know it will resonate deeply with our listeners. And for anyone who wants to learn more about Ilaria, about her work, you can visit her website at powerstrike.com. And what's the other one?
Strongerforlifefilm.com.
Yeah, excellent. Thank you. And remember, no matter what challenges you're facing, there is hope and a path forward. Your health journey is unique, but finding the right balance of support and self-care is key. And remember, even though your journey is unique, you're not alone. Thank you for tuning into the Gastro Girl podcast. Don't forget to like, subscribe, leave a review, and share this episode with someone who might find it helpful. Until next time, take care of your health. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Gastro Girl podcast. For more information and resources, please visit gastrogirl.com. Do you have a question for Gastro Girl? Please email podcast@gastrogirl.com. The information, opinions, and recommendations presented in the Gastro Girl podcast are not a substitute for medical advice from your healthcare professional. Please consult a licensed clinician in your state regarding all matters related to your health.